Hi everyone, this is Frank DiMora. Welcome you again to the Last Chronicles of Planet Earth. This is where you'll connect the prophecies to current events. And just to let you know that this report today will be very short because today I had an interview, a radio interview with the Steve Coopers from back east. And if you want to listen to this 45-minute interview, go to my website, which is www.bibleprophecyman.com. And once you're there, at the top of the post, you'll see Steve's email address. You can email him and ask him how you can listen to this 45-minute interview. Now, yesterday, I talked about the incident, what's going on in Egypt and how it relates to Psalm 83. This is a war that hasn't happened yet, but it will happen in the future. And this is a war where the neighboring nations around Israel will attack Israel, thinking that they're going to wipe Israel off the map once and for all, and so that their name would not be recognized anymore. This is what it says in the Bible. So you see the events taking place in Egypt now. Well, Egypt, if you didn't know the history about Egypt and Israel, Egypt signed one of the only peace agreements with Israel that any of the Arab nations made. And since I believe it was Jimmy Carter got together with him in 1977, which would have been the leader at that time in Egypt is Anwar Sadat. And I believe that the peace process was finalized in 1979. And afterwards, Sadat was assassinated and Mubarak took over. And he's been the leader of Egypt ever since. And he has been friendly towards Israel ever since. So, what we have here now is we have rioting taking place. We have the Egyptians saying that they want to oust Mubarak. Now, what's important here is that the leading contender to replace the Mubarak administration is a group called the Muslim Brotherhood. This is a very dangerous religious organization who is tied with, obviously, Islam and who's promoting what they call Sharia law or Islamic law. And they have, if you read the charter, you'll understand what their goals are, and I'm going to try to cover that here so that you'll have a firm understanding of what they're all about. And plus, if you go to my website, I have a video there that you can watch that explains some more about this Muslim Brotherhood. But first of all, I want to read an article from the New York Times. This is the headline for that article. U.S. open to rule for Islamics in new Egypt government. That's the title. And it says this, and this is again reporting from Washington. The Obama administration said for the first time that it supports a role for groups such as the Muslim Brotherhood, a banned Islamic organization, in a reformed Egyptian government. First of all, the United States is they're leaning towards accepting a group who is known to be violent and who is working to kill off the Christians and the Jews and to install Islam as a world religion. And they have no means to give this up, by the way. It goes on to say the organization must reject violence and recognize diplomatic goals if the U.S. is to be comfortable with it taking part in the government, the White House said. I can't even believe they said this, knowing their background. But by even setting conditions for the involvement of such non-secular groups, the administration took a surprise step in the midst of the crisis that has enveloped Egypt for the last week. So you have the United States making overtures to a group, a terrorist group, who now appears that they will take over the government. Now, let me scroll down here. When you get to my website, I'll give you two sections from the New York Times. You could read both of those. There's a little bit more information about the Muslim Brotherhood and the orderly process that the United States wants this process to go through, which is absolutely a joke. If you know their background, you'll see a video there from Frank Gaffney, from the national security. He's an ex-national security expert. So let me read what it says here. As a blue ribbon group of national security experts convened by the Center of Security Policy, Team B2 noted that the new bestseller Sharia, The Threat to America, the Incompatibility of the Ikhwan's Agenda with the Interest has been evident from its inception. The Muslim Brotherhood was founded in Egypt in 1928. Its express purpose was twofold. Now listen to this. Number one, to implement Sharia worldwide. That means their law, Islamic law, everywhere. And number two, to reestablish the global Islamic state. All right? So again, they're telling you what they want to do. Get rid of the Jews, the Christians, and anybody who doesn't believe in Islam. It goes on to say, therefore, the Al-Qaeda and the MB, or Muslim Brotherhood, have the same objectives. They differ only in the timing and tactics involved in realizing them. We also know now that the Brotherhood plans to pull off our destruction, and talking about the United States. Another Muslim Brotherhood document, this is one undated, is called The Phases of the World Underground Movement Plan. It describes the 5-installment program for achieving the triumph of Sharia, together with the status report on the realization of several of their phase goals. Now this is where it gets really interesting as far as I'm concerned. Phase 1, discreet and secret establishment of the leadership. Well, you can see that what's taking place in Egypt, because this is exactly what they did in Egypt. Phase 2, phase of the gradual appearance on the public scene and exercising and utilizing various public activities. The Muslim Brotherhood, greatly succeeded in implementing this stage. It also succeeded in achieving a great deal of its important goals, such as infiltrating various sectors of the government, which they have already done within the Egyptian government. Phase 3, escalation phase. Prior to the conflict and confrontation with the rulers through utilizing mass media, currently in progress. So we see that mass media, how do you get mass media? Well, just go on to Facebook, because they know how to use Facebook, and that's exactly what they're doing. This is one of the major components of how all these people integrated together to pull this thing off, and they're using this kind of technology. In phase 4, open public confrontation with the government through exercising the political pressure approach. It is aggressively implementing the above-mentioned approach, training on the use of weapons domestically and overseas in anticipation of 0 hour. It has noticeably activities in this regard. In phase 5, seizing power to establish their Islamic nation under which all parties and Islamic groups are united. So this is the goal of this Muslim group that the United States is now getting close to. It doesn't make sense to me, and obviously if you're an American and you like freedom, this is not going to make sense to you. The United States, over the course of the last 50 years, have blown relationships with nations around the world. And if they think that joining up with a Muslim group and an Islamic terrorist group who in their own charter states that they want to take over the world and use Islam and Sharia law, how the heck can America stand side by side even to talk to these people about allowing this kind of government to go into fruition? It just does not make any sense, not at all. Now, in relation to what I am talking about, to the Psalm 83, we know Egypt is coming against them. So if you see Mubarak go, which he is going to go, and you see, for example, the Muslim Brotherhood come in and they establish a government, then you'll know that we're really, really close to the Psalms 83 war, because as you see from my prophecy site, when you go to my prophecy site yesterday and the day before, I give you quotes from the Muslim Brotherhood. It said that they wanted war with Israel. So what does that tell you? Psalm 83 says Egypt will be involved in that war. The Muslim Brotherhood is active in Egypt. It's causing the downfall, one of the causes of the downfall of the Egypt government now. And if they're saying that they'd like to go to war with Israel, just connect Psalm 83 with the current events and you'll know God's word is in the process of being fulfilled. Now, how long it will take, nobody knows. But we do know, those of us who believe in the Lord's words and his warnings, we do know at the end of the day, there's a war coming against Israel. Israel knows this. I have quoted some of the information that came out from the Middle East out of Israel, and they know that this is a huge earthquake, a major earthquake in the Middle East. And they know what will happen. And they're already starting to be concerned about the border with Egypt. And they're sending, as to my knowledge, they're getting ready to send reinforcements into an area where they don't have that many troops at the border now. So we have to watch these events, and I believe, as I said before, that Egypt is in the process of disintegrating so that they will get and form a government that will unite with the rest of those nations that have already said that they'd like to go to war with Israel because the peace process is failing, and they want a state for the Palestinians, the PLO, and they want East Jerusalem as their capital. And Israel continually says that will never happen. Now, if you read my post a couple days ago, the leader of the PLO, Abbas, said that he will die. He will die in the trying to get East Jerusalem as the capital. And if you know Psalm 83, Psalm 83, you'll know that you really have to watch what you're saying when you're a leader against Israel, because he will get his wish. Anyone who attacks Israel during that Psalm 83 war is going to be defeated just the way they were in 1948, 1967, and 1973. So thank you for coming to the, first of all, the YouTube, and then to switch over to my prophecy site and allowing me to come into your home and to give you the connections between Bible prophecy and current events. God bless.